Hi there, it's Dr. Leslie Caesar, and welcome to the Healing Migraines Naturally podcast. Today we're going to answer a question that was asked in my free Facebook group for women who are suffering from migraines. So if you are not a part of that group, I would invite you to join the group. You can go search within the Facebook search box for Healing Migraines Naturally with Leslie Caesar ND and go ahead and join us over there. We have nearly 12,000 women who want to recover from migraine headaches, and so we'd love to have you join over there. And it's a very active group, and a lot of people ask some really great questions, and so I wanted to talk about and answer one of the questions that someone just asked in the group. And the question was, how come I have dark circles under my eyes after I get a migraine? And so this is a relatively common symptom that women will experience. I actually did a blog post on this a few years back because it's so common. So we'll link to that blog post in the show notes as well. What people are referring to is dark circles under the eyes that are more noticeable either before or after a migraine flare. And I want to sort of expand this question a little bit to the wide variety of eye symptoms that people will experience with migraine. So some of the most common eye symptoms that people will experience would be light sensitivity. That's a real classic. So many people become very sensitive to light when they are having a migraine, or if the migraines become very chronic, they will become so sensitive to light that they have to wear sunglasses even indoors, and they have to keep the blinds shut in their home frequently, or they have a great difficulty going into stores and shopping with the fluorescent lighting and so on. So light sensitivity is a very common visual symptom that people will experience. And other common visual symptoms would be the classic aura that people experience before the migraine. And other visual symptoms would be watery eyes. So a lot of times people won't realize that they're having this symptom. But this is a fairly common migraine symptom. Either before the migraine is full blown or during the migraine, they'll notice a lot of eye watering. Certainly puffy eyes, eye pain. A lot of times that migraine pain is right there in the eye. Either right above the eyebrow area, or people might feel like they're being stabbed in the eye. So there can be a lot of eye pain as well with migraine. So these are the most common symptoms related to the eye that come along with migraines. And so the question, why do I have these dark circles? We could ask that question about any of these eye-related symptoms. There's a very valuable clue as to what's going on here that pinpoints one of the underlying, you might say, causes to migraines. Okay, so within Chinese medicine, they have a concept that anything that's going on with the eye, so any symptoms with the eye, vision changes, the auras, the dark circles, the puffiness, eye pain, dry eye, watery eye, anything having to do with the eye actually gives us some insight into the state of the liver. In traditional Chinese medicine, thousands of years ago, they didn't have, MRIs and X-rays. They didn't have a way of assessing the function of internal organs. So they were very astute observers. And what they were able to determine through observation was that there are certain areas on the surface of the body that give us insight into the internal function of the body. And so within Chinese medicine, different features on the surface of the body tie into different organs. And so the eye ties in to the liver. And so if you have been following the podcast, if you've taken any of my free trainings, I talk about the 3 things that you have to do to restore your health and stop getting migraines. And one of those things is clearing metabolic waste material and toxins from the body. And the liver is the primary organ that does that. Okay, we have 3 organs of detoxification. Those are our liver, our kidneys, and our lungs. But the liver is doing most of the work, most of the heavy lifting. And so the liver ties into the eyes. So when we get a migraine, the migraine itself is a major symptom of a toxin overload in the body. And so it would make a lot of sense that when we have a major toxin overload in the body, that we would have eye symptoms as well, because that major toxin overload is going to put a significant strain on the liver. And that strain is going to be expressed in the eye. So think of any eye symptoms that you have with your migraine, right? Could be red eyes, vision changes. This is something that is also very common. So a lot of people will notice before the migraine kicks off, my vision is it's a little blurry today. What's going on? What's wrong with my prescription, right? The things are getting a little blurry here. That's another pretty common migraine prodrome, or sort of early warning symptom that the migraine is coming on, that people's vision will change. Certainly during the migraine, many people will have a fairly significant vision change. They might have difficulty, reading something or seeing something on their phone because their vision is so blurry. Some people will have out and out double vision before or during, or maybe a little bit after the migraine. So all of these symptoms related to the eye are showing us that there is a strain on the liver. Not that you have liver disease, not that you have elevated liver enzymes, not that if they did a liver biopsy they would find anything wrong with your liver, but it's just an indication that the liver is a little strained, is a little bit overloaded. So in conventional medicine, they're not going to sort of pick that up. Okay, so if you go in and you get blood work to check your liver function, the vast majority of migraine sufferers have normal laboratory results for their liver function. And so their doctor will say, well, your liver looks good. There's nothing wrong with your liver here. So laboratory testing is only going to detect significant damage to your liver. Not just an overload, not a strained liver, but actually significant damage to your liver. There, it has to get to that point before that is picked up on blood work. So I think it's very interesting that because the ancient Chinese were such astute observers of the recurring patterns of the body. So because they were so astute, they were able to detect this correlation between symptoms in the eye and the strain on the liver. And with migraines, that strain is coming from the toxin overload in the body, the metabolic waste material overload in the body that the liver is struggling to clear. When I talk about this principle of a metabolic waste material and toxin overload in the body, this does not mean that we should run out and do a cleanse, okay? If you are struggling with migraines, if you run out and do a typical cleanse, okay, you're probably going to get a really bad migraine. There are 2 other things that have to be in place in order to restore our health and stop getting migraines. So there are 3 total things that we need to look at, and I call these things the 3 principles. So the first principle is we have to get the nutrients that our cells need to our cells. The second principle is we have to clear metabolic waste material and other toxins from the body. And the third principle is we have to restore our resiliency and vitality. When we have a toxin overload in the body, we have to make sure that we have the appropriate nutrient status at the cellular level, and we have the vitality that we need at the cellular level too. If those first and third principles are not well grounded, our liver is going to have more difficulty detoxifying that metabolic waste material and toxins from the body, and hence the overload develops. So if you go out and do something like a cleanse or a detox, but you still have deficiencies or blockers within the first principle and the third principle, you're probably going to feel pretty sick, especially if you're prone to migraines. So the ultimate answer to the question, why do I have these dark circles? Why are my eyes watering? Why do I feel like I'm getting stabbed in the eye? Why is my vision changing? The answer to all of those questions goes back to one of the root causes of why you have the migraines in the first place. So if you understand why the migraine is being generated in the first place, and you understand this connection between symptoms happening in the eye and the state of the liver, it makes total sense why there are so many eye symptoms with migraines, right? It's not just the dark circles that are prominent. I mean, it's the light sensitivity. I mean, that's one of the most widely reported symptoms is light sensitivity. We have a whole category of migraine, of a migraine type that's called migraine with aura, where your vision is, impacted. And then, like I say, the watery eye phenomenon is very common. Eye pain, puffy eyes, all of these eye symptoms that go with migraines makes a lot of sense when you understand the connection between the eye and if your liver is struggling or if it's able to keep up. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you some insight into what's going on with your body. And I would invite you to, again, if you're not in the Facebook group, join us there. I like to go through the questions that are posed there and give a little explanation or a little answer to those questions. So join us there in the Facebook group. And then I also have some free trainings and some other podcasts that we'll link to in the show notes for you to continue to educate you and give you more insight into what's going on with your body. So thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you soon.